Funding for the Reading Rockets webcast series is provided by the United States Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs.
Hello, I'm Delia Pompa. Welcome to the Reading Rockets webcast series. Today we're going to talk with two top experts about summer reading. Joining me we have Ron Fairchild. He's the Executive Director of the Johns Hopkins Center for Learning and a faculty member at Johns Hopkins University School of Education. Ron, tell us about summer, what it looks like for kids these days. How does reading fit into that? And I'm guessing that sort of varies across families and socioeconomic groups.
Absolutely. I think most of us have a really wonderful image of what summer is all about. It's a time for something different, a time for recreation, a time for vacations and for creative exploration. And unfortunately, the reality for many young people and for many families in this country is very different from that image. And so we see summer increasingly as a time when many families are really struggling to find adequate child care, opportunities for education and for enrichment.
So what's the effect of spending your summer going to space camp and traveling as opposed to sitting home watching TV?
Well, research consistently shows that young people who are engaged in constructive learning activities, like that wonderful example of space camp, kids that are engaged in those kinds of activities go back to school in the fall ready to learn, ready to succeed. And unfortunately, kids who don't have access to those kinds of opportunities don't have the same advantages when they go back to school in the fall.
You know, people are shocked, I think, when they find out the impact a summer loss can have. Summer loss is a term that might be new to some people. Has it always existed?
Well, the first study that was ever conducted on this pattern of seasonal learning differences and the summer setback was actually conducted in 1906.
Oh, I guess people do know about it.
So I think the research community certainly knows about it, but I don't think it's widely known and widely accepted, despite the fact that this research has existed for over 100 years. So I think that there's a real opportunity to raise awareness about this issue.
Well, how much reading ability do kids really stand to lose over the summer, and how does that impact learning in the classroom?
Well, research shows that all young people are at risk of experiencing some kind of educational setback during the summer months, especially in the area of math. That's true for everybody. In the area of reading, it's really interesting to look at the research findings. Kids in high poverty communities consistently lose over 2 months of reading performance each and every summer of their elementary school years, and those losses accumulate over time.
Can you talk a little bit about the achievement gap and how summer loss affects that achievement gap?
Well, the achievement gap generally refers to differences in academic performance between groups of kids based on family income or some other characteristic. And what we see when we look at the summer pattern and summer learning loss is that kids from low-income communities have this setback of over 2 months every year of their elementary school years, and those losses accumulate, and so that these early differences in summer learning really account for a staggering amount of the growth in the achievement gap between kids based on income. And in fact, researchers have traced that achievement gap's growth in reading performance of close to 2.5 years by the time kids get to middle school. So there's a really significant...
So it's cumulative over the years.
It's cumulative over the years, and ultimately when a new study that was just released this past year looked at incoming 9th graders, and they were able to track and trace back to elementary school differences in summer learning opportunities really accounted for a significant difference in 9th grade incoming reading achievement scores.
Can you talk a little bit about that gap and why there is that difference, what the research shows about that?
I think what the research shows is that for some families, and particularly middle and upper income families, have access to all kinds of enrichment opportunities, and that they regularly send their kids to camps and participate in all kinds of enrichment experiences, whereas lower income families don't have the same kind of access to choices and to opportunities over the summer months. So we think it's critical that public libraries and other public agencies and camps and nonprofits really provide those opportunities and give more working families the choices and opportunities that they need for their kids.
So as educators, we need to step in.
We absolutely do. I think unfortunately there are all kinds of resources and a faucet that shuts off for kids during the summer, and there aren't the same kind of guarantees during the summer months for education, for meals, for opportunities for physical activities and those kinds of things that occur during the school year, a lot of that stuff shuts down for kids during the summer, so we need to figure out ways to turn that back on.
How does a summer program compare with a summer school program? Is there a difference?
Well, I think many of us probably have a very negative view of what summer school looks like, and I think that's rooted in this idea that summer school is this punitive, remedial model of programming where kids have to be there where they don't want to be there. And what we think is really exciting and interesting when we look out into the community and into the field of summer programming more broadly is a lot of people are starting to think that model isn't really what's going to get us where we need to go with respect to solving this problem of the summer opportunity gap and the resource gap that we've been talking about today. So we see a lot more school districts redesigning their summer programs, making them summer learning opportunities, and they're partnering with nonprofits, YMCAs, Boys and Girls Clubs, other entities, public libraries to come in and add resources to what used to be a very small 2-hour, 3-hour summer school program is now slowly becoming more of a 6-hour, full-day, 4 to 6 week summer program opportunity. And we think that's a really significant shift, and I think could really go a long way toward addressing this problem. We have, over the past several years, done a lot of research on these different models of summer programs and have a set of characteristics available on our website, www.summerlearning.org, where we refer people to those, and then a set of tools and resources for people who are interested in starting programs like this. I think there's a significant need out there for more summer opportunities, and I think that those kinds of resources can certainly point people in the right direction.
For more information about how you can help the struggling readers in your lives, please visit us on the web at www.readingrockets.org. And while you're there, please let us know what you thought about this program. Click on Webcast to find our online survey. Again, thank you for joining us, and take care.
Funding for the Reading Rockets webcast series is provided by the United States Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs.